Worship is not about you, it's about Him. Welcome to The Whole Truth, everyone, where I'm taking you through the entire Bible, from Genesis all the way to Revelation, without skipping anything. If that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll follow the page, whatever platform you're on. But most of all, I want you to grab a Bible, turn it open to Exodus chapter 20, and then scroll down to verse 22. So Exodus, the second book of the Bible, the 20th chapter, and the 22nd verse. That's where we pick up. God just gave the 10 commandments, and everybody could hear it. All of Israel could hear it. That, remember, the mountain was on fire but not burning. Smoke was rising into the air. The sound of trumpet, the sound of the thunderings, and lightning was crashing. And God's voice could be heard as He gave the 10 commandments. And when that was over, the people were fearful, and they said, Moses, you go talk to God, but don't make us experience that again. That caused us to be afraid. And they stood afar off and were afraid, and Moses drew closer to God. Now God is speaking to Moses as he is drawn closer. In the midst of all that awesome display, Moses has been drawn closer. And in verse 22, then the Lord said to Moses, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, you have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You shall not make anything to be with me. Gods of silver or gods of gold, you shall not make for yourselves. God was very clear. Go tell Moses, go tell them that they have seen my power. They have heard my voice. They have witnessed this display, this awesome display, and they have witnessed it for a good reason, because I don't want them to compare any God with me. There should be nothing on the same level in your minds, in your hearts. Are you ready for this? In your worship. There should be nothing that is on par with me. Don't make any gods for yourselves of silver or gods of gold. How petty. Think of us. How petty of us. Here's God's awesome display, and He says, I have shown you my power. Don't go worshiping a still, lifeless statue that sits on your shelf and on your mantle. God's display of His power, or a lifeless idol. That's what God is saying. Don't take a lifeless idol and put it up next to me. But friends, I have to tell you that I think sometimes in our worship, in our modern worship, we don't have a God of silver or a God of gold that we put up on par with God. But I will tell you that we certainly put things on par with God that are not on par with Him, that are not even close. We put things in front of God, and we take the worship of God and we push it to the side. And we don't pay near enough attention to our worship of Him who is worthy to be worshiped. And we put our focus on lesser things, whether that be money or relationships or sometimes even addictions, whatever it might be. Don't put something else on the same level as God. God said, you've seen my power. Don't do that. And even more so, look at what He does with this. In verse 24, an altar of earth you shall make for me. What? Dirt? Earth? An altar of earth you shall make for me. And you shall sacrifice your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen in every place where I record my name. And I will come to you and I will bless you. And if you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of hewn stone. For if you use a tool on it, you've profaned it. Nor shall you go up by the steps to my altar, that your nakedness should not be exposed on it. God says, when you make an altar for me, you use dirt. Pile up the dirt, make a mound, and do your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and your peace offerings. Do those on a mound of dirt. As a matter of fact, if you're going to use stones, pile up the stones. Do not put a tool to them. Don't use hewn stones. Don't carve stuff into the stones. Just take the rocks, pile them up, and then burn your offerings on top of a pile of rocks. If you build it high enough that you have to walk up the steps, do not expose yourself. Don't make it so high that you would expose yourself, that you would expose your nakedness as you were to go up onto the altar. Now, understand that part of the reason God's doing that is because He's combating what they have seen in Egypt. Israel has seen in Egypt for 400 years a style of worship. And so what are they going to do? They're naturally going to try to carry that style of worship forward. They're going to try to carry that style of worship. So He says, don't worship me the same way they worship. This had nothing to do with God not wanting something carved. There was nothing evil about carving a stone. Later, God will have an altar, a brazen altar, and it'll have horns, and he'll have it shaped in certain ways, but that will be under his direction. Right now, he is separating himself from the worship that they have seen. And can I tell you, that is a message for you and I. It doesn't matter how you've always worshiped. It doesn't matter what you're used to. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be real clear. It's not really even a matter of what you're comfortable with or what you like. And that is exactly what we have made worship to be. I don't like the way that pastor speaks. I don't like the music they play at that church. I don't like the way the youth minister talks. I don't like the songs that they sing. I don't like the fact that they use hymnals. I don't like the fact that they have a screen. I don't like the fact that they have a whole bunch of instruments. I wish we could just, I'm telling you, I've had people say, I wish we could just sing. Why can't we just sing with no instruments? While other people look and say, why can't we have instruments? I mean, why? I've heard this one a lot. Why does the devil get all the good music? None of those should be our focus, friends, and they shouldn't be yours either. Don't get mixed up in whether or not, you ready? Whether or not the music is what you're used to or what you like is not the question. Are you worshiping God? Is your focus on him or is it on yourself? Is your worship directed at the Heavenly Father, who there is none to be compared with? Or is it on your own wants and your own desires? You ready? I've made a lot of people mad with this statement over the years, and I'm going to do it again right now. The younger generation, they have this mindset that they want everything to be new and they want everything to be fresh. And if they don't see new and fresh and up to date, then they feel like it's boring and old and out of date, and they feel like it's dead worship. And that's really the catchword of the day when it comes to the younger generation, pointing at some churches and saying, well, they've just got dead worship. And then the older generation, do you know what they do? They want things the way they've always been. Nostalgia. That's the way we've always worked. Why can't we have it the way that we had it before? Why can't we sing the old hymns? Why can't we sing the old songs? Why do we have to have a screen instead of a hymnal? Friends, can I tell you that if you're leaving a church or joining a church because of those reasons, you might have missed the boat. It doesn't matter. What matters is, are we focused on the Lord? Are we pointing to him? Are we worshiping him? The hymns or praise songs, electric guitars or organs, doesn't matter. The Lord said, take dirt. Make an altar for me of the dirt. The Lord, he doesn't need them. He doesn't need them to carve stones to make the stones look good that they can now worship him. He doesn't need that. He wants to know that their hearts were after him. And that's what he wants to know from you and I as well. Where's your heart when you're worshiping the Lord? All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow with Exodus chapter 21. See you then.